Close races to watch in the final stretch of the Ontario election campaign. Military should give up control of sexual assault cases permanently. Bank of Canada all but certain to raise lending rates this week. Famous Punjabi language rapper Sidhu Moosewala shot dead in India. Bride sleeps in airport and was late for her wedding after Air Canada flight delayed. Second charter flight carrying those fleeing war in Ukraine lands in Montreal. Tribute pours in for slain Punjabi rapper with ties to Toronto. Metrolinx releases video of GO train nearly hitting 3 young people in Etobicoke. Canada falls in overtime to Finland in gold medal game at Men's Hockey World. With 3 full days left before the June 2nd general election, Ontario's political parties are campaigning hard to shore up support in key ridings. The Progressive Conservatives have been the consistent frontrunners with another majority in their sights. The New Democrats are on track to win the second most seat, though potentially with a smaller share of the popular vote than the Liberals. The Ontario Greens may pick up a second seat at Queen's Park. The time has come for the Canadian Armed Forces to permanently give up control of investigation of sexual offences by its members, says a major new report by a former Supreme Court justice. Concluding more than a year of work, Louis Arbour today released much anticipated report on the military sexual misconduct crisis. It recommends, among other things, that civilian police and the court handle all sexual assault cases involving allegation against military members. Military sexual trauma complainants have been demanding for decades that civilians take over the sexual misconduct cases, arguing that Canadian Armed Forces has failed to properly support victims and to thoroughly investigate and prosecute cases.
Still is today. The handling of sexual offenses by military court in the past 20 years has done very little to improve efficiency, discipline, and morale. If anything, it has served to erode it. Therefore, I see no basis for the Canadian Armed Forces to retain any jurisdiction over sexual offenses, and that jurisdiction should be vested exclusively with civilian authorities. As long as concurrent jurisdiction remains, the evidence so far indicates that the CAF will continue to consider itself the primary jurisdiction, and that civilian authorities will happily decline to exercise it. This is particularly surprising, considering that on average,
Punjabi language rapper and music producer Sidhu Moosewala has been shot dead in India, according to officials. Moosewala was born in Musa, a village in Mansa district of Punjab, India in 1993. He was famous worldwide, especially in Punjabi diaspora, for his charged-up rap performances and slick music videos. Police says Moosewala has left his home at about 4:30 p.m. local time on Sunday, driving in a Jeep vehicle along with other 2 people. About 5:30 p.m., police says the occupant of 3 vehicles, one behind the Moosewala's vehicle and 2 alongside, fired into the vehicle when they were in Jawarke village within the Mansa district. Moosewala suffered injuries and was declared dead after he was brought to the hospital, adding it was likely the slaying was the result of inter-gang rivalry. A bride slept in the airport and was late for her own wedding after an Air Canada flight from Toronto to Phoenix was delayed. Multiple travelers who were on board on Air Canada's plane scheduled to depart from Toronto on Friday says the flight was delayed for hours before it was cancelled and rebooked the following day with no food vouchers or hotel accommodation offered by the airline. Dorar Abuzad, one of the passengers, said she was late for her own wedding in Phoenix on Saturday. On Friday, she said she boarded the flight and sat on the tarmac for 3 hours before the flight was canceled. Abuzad said after she boarded the plane, a member of the crew announced that one of the flight attendants was experiencing a medical emergency. She said after the pandemic assessed the flight attendant and deemed them too safe to fly, the pilot announced that Air Canada management had made an executive decision that it was still unsafe. Originally, their flight was scheduled to depart at 8 p.m., but at that point, it was too late to have new flight attendant clear custom and the flight was cancelled, Abuzad said. An Air Canada spokesperson confirmed that the flight was delayed 2 hours and 15 minutes before it was cancelled due to medical issue with the crew member, and that all customers were rebooked and departed the following morning at 11:32 a.m. However, the airline spokesperson did not address why food vouchers and hotel bookings were not offered by the airline. Emotions ran high at the Montreal Pierre Elliott Trudeau International Airport, where a second charter flight carrying people like Olena Burek touched down on Sunday morning. The 20-year-old was one of the 306 Ukrainians that flew into Montreal from Poland just before 11 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday after being approved for emergency travel to Canada. The young woman fled her home in the war-ravaged Ukrainian capital of Kyiv in March when bombs began dropping near her house. She lived in Poland before arriving in Montreal, and she will soon begin a new chapter in Toronto. She said she's determined to find work there whilst helping her country and her family back home. Sakari Maninen scored in overtime to lift host Finland to a 4-3 win over Canada in a wild gold medal game at Men's World Hockey Championship on Sunday in Finland. The Finns held a 3-1 lead late in the third before Canadians struck for 2 goals with their goaltender pulled.